Good morning. Patrick, I'm the pastor here at Evergreen. It's really exciting to have you all here in worship with us today. We don't have any bulletins today because we're not going to be in here super long. Because pretty soon we're going to be taking off to the park. But before we do that, a few quick announcements for both the Life of Evergreen and for Neighborhood Church. This yellow rose is a tradition that we have in the Life of Evergreen that represents a new child that was born in our community to Josh and Emily Bailey, two of our members this past week. So baby Isaac Bailey was born. Holy Week devotionals. If you're interested in that, Evergreen has some, and there's a limited number of copies, hard copies on both counters, front and back. But there's also a digital one. You can go to the Evergreen website, evergreenmemphis.org, and it's on the Turkey Chit Chat blog. That will be a digital version, so it's every day, starting tomorrow through Easter Sunday. And now let's talk about how this parade's going to go down. So, first of all, before I get to that, I want to say a special thank you to the Mighty Souls Brass Band for being with us today. We are going to, there'll be a brief reflection that I'll offer in just a few minutes. And after that, we will sing a second hymn, and we'll sing all of that hymn here in this space. And then you can drop the hymnals and you will follow the band. We will take a left out of the building and then a left on, someone help me, will it? And then we will go just straight down that street to the park where all the festivities await us. There are no bathrooms at the park. So think about if you need to take care of business before we get going. If you're like, I don't want to be behind from the parade, I don't think my reflection will be all that exciting. Feel free to go during that part. Or even if you do take care of business here and you get to the park and you're like, uh-oh, spaghetti-o, come find Meredith or myself, or are there other members of Evergreen staff real quick?
Not staff,
yeah. And we'll give you the plan. We'll give you the plan so you can, we got a code word for you. But yeah, that does mean that we will lock up this building. So when you leave for the parade, take your things with you. You can put them in the car and lock them up, or carry them on your person, but it will be very difficult to get back in, at least until we're clearing out of the park. So if you have to leave early, it's going to be difficult to get into the building while we're hanging out there. That's all I got on that one.
My only announcement, there are two of them, they're together, is that we're going to be joined together next Sunday for Easter at 11 a.m. So we're excited that our congregations are going to do a joint service next week as well. And we are going to take up a special offering next week for Out Memphis. And so that will be where our offering goes to this week. Oh, let us prepare our hearts and minds towards of God with joy.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Shallert, and I am the worship minister at Neighborhood Church. So excited to be together in this space that we share and to see faces that worship and call this space holy in one spot. It's a really beautiful thing for us to be together. I have one announcement. So as the worship minister, we are going to try a joint choir for Easter next Sunday. So I'm super excited. If you are at all interested in singing in our community choir, we will meet on Wednesday at 6 p.m. here. If you can't make it, no worries. We'll have another rehearsal on Sunday morning at 10:15. If that sounds like short notice, don't worry. The piece is very easy and we can put it together really quickly. If you have any questions, you can talk to Catherine or you can talk to me, and we will have a fun choral piece. So again, rehearsal is Wednesday, 6 o'clock, or Sunday at 10:15. Let me know if you have any questions. So let's begin our time of worship with bringing in the light. If you will read the bold text after the word all, I will read the regular text. The story of Palm Sunday tells of Jesus subverting the powers that sought to oppress people. When the oppressors showed power on their war horses, when the oppressors showed power with swords and spears, when the oppressors showed power with crowns of gold, so today, in the face of so much pain in the city and in the world, we celebrate with joy and peace and creativity. Amen.
Our opening hymn is number 196 in purple hymnal, All Glory, Laud, and Honor. Please rise in body or spirit.
This morning I'll be reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 21, verses 1 through 11. When they had come near Jerusalem and had reached Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this, 'The Lord needs them,' and he will send them immediately." This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowd that went ahead of him and that followed were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven." When he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in turmoil, asking, "Who is this?" The crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee."
I love Palm Sunday. You should just be for one reason. But now it's for 2. I came to Evergreen. This is my 3rd Palm Sunday. And my first one, we were still not worshiping in the space. So Mighty Soul's Breath Band was wonderful enough to work with at the time, our director of music ministry, Jim Cornfoot. And we did a whole video. They played some songs outside, and we videoed the whole parade. And so we got to watch that on Zoom, and I thought that was cool. And I couldn't wait to actually get to do it in person. And I got to do that for my first time last year. And then here we are for another time. I love this tradition that I wish I could take credit for it, but obviously I inherited it from the Evergreen community when I arrived a little over 2.5 years ago. So that's one reason why I really love Palm Sunday now, but I've always loved Palm Sunday just because of the story of Palm Sunday. I think that if there's one snippet, if there's one story, one little narrative that can sum up Jesus, the nature of Jesus, the nature of God, the purpose of Jesus, the ministry of Jesus, our calling and our purpose, I really feel like Palm Sunday could be one of those stories where we really see all of it in one moment. There's this guy, Walter Wink. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of him or read any of his stuff. He's one of the voices of many that I've just fallen in love with over the years. This book that looks deliciously 80s on its cover, Engaging the Powers, is one that I've gone to over and over and over the years. And it's one of those that could be very easily outdated, but it doesn't seem to be. It seems to continue to speak to me and to a lot of Christian witness. This was a dude who taught, sadly he died about a decade ago, who taught at Auburn Theological Seminary up in New York City, which is part of the Union Seminary thing up in Brooklyn. I think it's Brooklyn. And his whole thing that he gets known for is what's called the third way of Jesus. How Jesus is presented so often with options A and B, options that are black and white, this or that, and then Jesus responds and transcends the 2 options with a third way. So some examples of this, right? Beatitudes. We get the go the second mile. The context of that is that during this time, a Roman centurion could go up to a Jewish person in Palestine and say, "Carry my pack for a mile." If the person refuses, the centurion could kill them on the spot by law. So the person usually would say, "Yeah, I'll carry your pack for a mile." And it's Romans, so they were really good with their roads. They had mile markers, but they couldn't ask you to go past that mile. So when Jesus says go that second mile, it's not saying fight the Roman. It's not saying run away from the Roman. It's saying do it, but now change the power dynamic. Because once you start going that second mile, you now have the power in that moment. And you're doing that act to say that centurion no longer has power over you. Right? Another example would be turn the other cheek. That was one where if a Roman centurion slapped a Jewish Palestinian person, they had to use their right hand because the left hand was for unclean purposes. No toilet paper, we'll leave it at that. So you would not use your left hand even to hit someone. So if you're a Roman centurion, you strike a Jewish Palestinian person, you're going to use your backhand as a sign of degradation, right? And so if you have to turn the other cheek, if that person does choose to hit you again with a fist or an open hand, they have to hit you as an equal. So again, you are changing that power dynamic with people who are oppressing you. Also the woman that's about to be stoned, right? This is gonna get stoned for adultery. It's funny that the guy's not up there on trial. But the people ask Jesus, should we stone her or should we not? Giving him options A and B, this or that. It's black and white. Jesus thinks for a minute, and then he says that you're free to sin, cast the first stone. He so often has this way of introducing a third way, an option that transcends and that transforms. And I see that in Palm Sunday. In Palm Sunday, the gospel narratives, especially Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus is coming into Jerusalem. That's what his ministry starts out. And it's a long year, kind of working his way into an entry into Jerusalem. And as the powers and principalities are starting to close in on him, it's not fight, it's not flight. He's not showing up with an army ready to go to battle. He's also not saying, you know what? I feel some pressure. I'm just going to hang back in the woods for a little while. It's neither of those. It's a third way, and he comes in almost as a jester, mocking the very empire. This was coming into the capital city on a war horse was something that you did victorious after battle. And people would stand there and they would shout to you and they would wave. Even in the ancient world, it was also palms. They're signs of victory and celebration. They would wave palms as you come in on a big war horse with your big army. And I love it in the text that Ginger read for us. Jesus says, he sends two disciples and he says, go into the village ahead of you and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this, the Lord needs them. So it's almost like this was premeditated, right? It's arranged that that's waiting for him. And there's this code word that if they get there and anyone gives them any trouble, oh, the Lord needs us. We got the code word. This was arranged, this moment where Jesus comes in on a donkey instead of on a war horse is just to subvert the powers and the principalities, not with fighting, not with running away, but with almost humor, with celebration, with joy. So today, what I want us to think about as we take this parade around the corner, and as we have fun in the park, it's not a day where we're avoiding the terrible stuff in the world. It's not a day where we're avoiding to say like, oh, well, you know, in our privilege, we will just avoid the number of mass shootings and the horrible legislation that's coming down and how white supremacy keeps showing up day after day after day. It is a third way where we say today, we will have fun, we will have joy, and we will celebrate, and we remember our calling, and we will laugh in the face of this terrible stuff as we continue to work for justice in this world, following Jesus Christ. So that is my hope for this Palm Sunday, is that our joy is not just a joy of avoiding the pain, but is a joy of resisting it as people of Jesus Christ. And all God's people said, because it's good news.
Please rise in body or spirit for our transitional hymn number 197. We'll sing all three verses of this here, and then Patrick said you can drop your hymnals. You're welcome to just set it down in your chairs. And three verses of Hosanna, Loud Hosanna, and then we'll follow the march.